Alright guys, so I go to one of the biggest schools of natural medicine, so naturopathic doctors, doctors of Chinese medicine, nutrition students in North America, and one of the things that's come up a lot is that there are so many nutrition students and so many people studying health who have crazy, ridiculous, unhealthy diets, which is ironic, because they are so healthy. Now in today's video, let's talk about what the hell is going on with orthorexia. Hey guys, I'm Alex Hine, author of the book Master the Day. Now, orthorexia is this idea that by over-focusing on a person's diet, they are actually causing more harm than good. And what I've found at going to a school of natural healing, that there's a lot of orthorexia. There are a lot of men and women that believe that if you eat anything other than kale, quinoa, and coconut oil and superfoods like goji berries, you will not live long and healthy, or you're gonna get cancer. So brown rice and all this other stuff, all very conventional things. A drop of alcohol, chips every once in a while are gonna kill you. And what I found is that a lot of this orthorexia really is classified as an eating disorder. So a lot of these students, although they may be relatively healthy, have this extreme emphasis where one day of eating a piece of bread and you're gonna die, you're gonna go to hell, you're gonna burn an entire fire and damnation and fire and brimstone. Like this is literally the level, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's almost scary considering the fact that none of my ancestors had any problem eating bread every day, had no problem eating junk every once in a while, and my great-grandma lived to be her late 90s, much longer than almost every doctor in the United States will live to be. So it's got me really wondering, and the first question I have is, when did eating healthy become so friggin' complicated? Like, is it really ever been difficult to figure out what to eat in human history before the modern era? Let's say the last 100 years. Let's say the 20th century, okay? I think it's just so interesting how animals, they instinctively know their natural diet, they eat as much as they want, whenever they want, and they have no problems with diabetes if they're in the wild. They have no problems with health conditions that magically start showing up when they're fed a different or a more conventional diet. I don't know what they're fed in zoos, for example, but humans, the indigenous people know the exact same thing. You follow your indigenous diet, you're not going to have any real problems with your overall health or with overall disease. We see a lot of cultures in the world in the South Pacific, like in Papua New Guinea. We see the Japanese, the Okinawans, the Icarians, which I think is in Greece or Italy. And the Blue Zone cultures follow a natural diet. They're not going hard in the gym every day. They just spend time with family, they're happy, a lot of low-level exercise, and they live to be over 100 in percentages and proportions that are unheard of here in the West. And so it begins to make you wonder, when did eating healthy become so complicated? Is it really about never having a slice of bread or never having chips or never having alcohol at all? Or is it more complicated? Is being healthy and longevity more complicated than just your diet? I find in America there's an overemphasis on what people eat as far as disease risk goes. I really think people in the United States overemphasize the diet rather than the overall lifestyle. Look at Europe, look at how they live. High fat, high wine, all this stuff that's not supposed to be good, and that you look at things like the Parisian paradox, the French paradox, with their fat content consumption, or having an espresso and a pastry for breakfast. So the second thing I want you to think about here is that your grandma probably knew how to eat properly. I mean, most of our elder generations, they knew how to eat our kind of indigenous diet, if you want to call it that, from wherever you're from in the world. Like my grandma from Lithuania and Poland on my mom's side, and on my dad's side from Haiti, they just ate the natural indigenous diet, and they were fine. Like my great-grandma on my mom's side lived to be in her late 90s, and I knew her the entire time, my whole childhood. She wasn't waking up and like taking spirulina smoothies and some kale shakes and never having a piece of bread. She probably didn't even eat that many vegetables. Most of her diet was just carbs. And that's what I find in a lot of indigenous cultures. There's a bunch of carbs, like a complex grain. There's vegetables and there's meat. And a lot of cultures have tons of meat. And there's just so much of a simplistic look at what's healthy. There's just none of this complication we see in the modern world. She wasn't taking protein shakes, spirulina shakes, superfood shakes. There's no concept of a superfood. You just eat food to live. and they lived well, and they lived longer than our generation. So that's something I want you to think about, because that's something I've been thinking about. One day going to be seeing patients myself, and it makes me wonder, is a nutritionist that really only eats 3 foods, is that a healthy person? And is that a healthy mindset that they're going to go share with their patients and their clients one day? I don't know. I don't think that is. The third habit here is I want you to kind of think about how the people live in the blue zones. So the blue zones are regions of the world. I think there's one in Costa Rica, Japan, Italy, Greece, some other spots. And people live to be over 100 in much greater percentages than anywhere else in the world. And the thing about the blue zones is that, yes, they eat healthy, but the researchers studying these people have concluded that the reason why they live so well and so long at every stage of their life is not just because of their diet, but it's because their overall way they live. Lots of regular low-level exercise, family-centered culture. They often have faith behind them. They often have a reason for getting up in the morning. And so the diet is just a very small piece. It's an important piece, but it's a small piece. A very small, critical piece. And the problem is, if we just focus on that, we're missing the bigger picture. Just like the research on heart disease being linked with type A behavior, this one particular researcher, I believe in the 1950s, I think in San Francisco, found that people with a certain cluster of personality traits, even when they ate healthy, even when they ate the proper diet, developed heart disease, and many of them died of heart attacks because of the way they lived. And I just see that there's so much of an overemphasis on diet in the United States and an underemphasis on the way we live, on being happy in your relationships, doing work you love, you feel like you're called to do, eating right, waking up and having, some way to minimize your stress, and just the feeling of enjoying your life. Imagine what hating your life every day for years and years and years does to you internally. I think there needs to be a revolution of people that focus on the way we live. And for me, part of reinventing myself, doing work like this and writing books and doing stuff I love, is because of the fact that this to me is, I feel healthier when I wake up and I do work I love. Even when I eat right, I feel ill if I have to do 10 hours of work that I hate. So it makes you wonder. Number one, yeah, of course diet's important, but is the way we're living with this obsession on superfoods, spirulina, goji berries, all this ridiculousness, is this making us live longer? I don't know. I heavily question that. I heavily question that. And so maybe for you in your own life, maybe that's going to cut you some slack. So you don't feel like you have to be neurotic about the freaking kale shake every morning. Maybe you can feel like you can cut yourself a little bit of slack and just have some bread with butter one day and not beat yourself up about eating wheat or not having a vegetable for a meal. Trust me, you'll be fine. Just some things to think about today, guys, all right? Orthorexia, it's a big deal. Overemphasizing what we eat at a level where it becomes basically neurotic. Chances are, if you're orthorexic, your friends probably know about it. So before you go, I want you to leave a comment there below. Let me know for you, do you have a friend that you think is orthorexic? And if you've confronted him or her, what do they actually say? I want to know there below. Hey guys, Alex here. I hope you like this video. Now the best way to stay in touch with me is 3 things. Come download my guide, 5 daily habits to help you lose your next 20 to 30 pounds. Check out my latest video, click that monk dude to subscribe, and then also you can check out my book, Master the Day. It's all about the daily success habits to help you lose your next 20 to 30 pounds and honestly build an exceptional life. And you can learn about that in the description there below, or type in Master the Day in Amazon.com.